The security guard snatches the key fob out of her hand like he's catching a thief. In the middle of a $1 million lobby with marble floors and a gas fireplace, a black woman in a hoodie stands there holding a dog leash and a cold coffee, while a white guard tells her, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You don't belong here. I'm calling the police." Phones are up. Cameras are rolling. He has no idea that the trespasser he just humiliated is the woman who decides what happens to cops like him. Rain tapped against the glass like impatient fingers when Lena Carter stepped out of the rideshare and into the glow of the high-rise. The building rose out of downtown Seattle like a sheet of dark glass, its lobby a bright aquarium of marble and chrome behind the revolving doors. Lena adjusted her hood against the drizzle, felt Mocha's leash tug as the brindle mutt shook Rain onto her jeans and grabbed the key fob from her pocket. "Come on, girl," she murmured. "One more elevator, then we're done for the day." From the outside, Lena looked exactly like what she was pretending to be. A tired middle-class professional in leggings and a long hoodie, balancing a takeout coffee and a poop bag, trying to wrangle her dog through the revolving door without getting her arm pinched. Her curls were tied up under a beanie, her face bare. No courtroom makeup, no robe, no microphone. Nothing about her said. Chair of the Seattle Civilian Police Accountability Commission. The fob chirped softly when she tapped it to the sensor. The door clicked open. Inside, the lobby glowed warm. Wood paneling, a gas fireplace, a long white marble desk where the night security officer sat sifting through a phone. The building's logo, a stylized evergreen, was etched into the wall behind him. Outside, the city blurred by in streaks of red and white light. The guard glanced up as the sensor beeped, eyes traveling over Lena, over the leash, over the dog's wet paws on the expensive tile. His gaze snagged on her hoodie, on the cheap canvas sneakers still dotted with rain. Something sharpened in his look. "Whoa, whoa," he said, pushing back from his chair. His name tag read Talbot. "Can I help you?" Lena kept walking toward the elevators, the fob still in her hand. "No, I'm good, thanks. Just heading up." Talbot stepped out from behind the desk, planting himself between her and the bank of elevators. "This building is private," he said. "Residents only." Mocha sniffed at his boot and sneezed. Lena tightened the leash gently. "I know," she said. "I live here." He snorted, like she'd told a joke. "You live here," he repeated, glancing over her hoodie and leggings again. "Uh-huh. Name and unit?" "Lena Carter, 28B. He tapped something into the tablet on the desk, a frown forming. "I don't have a Carter in 28B. Her jaw tightened. "It's under my partner's last name," she said evenly. "Reyes. You'll see my name on the account notes." Rain traced lines down the glass behind her. In the reflection, Lena could see the small cluster of people in the lounge area. 2 neighbors with laptops, a middle-aged couple in wool coats waiting for the elevator, a teenage girl scrolling on her phone. Eyes were lifting from screens, from magazines, drawn by the tone, by the way Talbot had stepped into her path. Talbot checked the screen again. Slower this time, his lips pursed. "You're not on the lease," he said, loud enough for the couple to hear. "We can't just have dog walkers and housekeepers coming and going as they please." Lena felt the words land. "Dog walker. Housekeeper." Mocha whined softly. "I own half that unit," Lena said. Her voice was still level, but there was steel under it now. "The mortgage comes out of my account. That fob works because I belong here." Talbot held out his hand. "I'll take that," he said, "until we verify." She looked at his palm, big, square, already closing like he was sure. "No," she said. The air in the lobby shifted. Conversations dipped. The teenage girl's phone angled, ever so slightly toward them. Talbot's face hardened. "Ma'am," he said. The words sanded down into something far less respectful. "You can give me the fob, or you can wait outside while we sort this out. Building policy." He reached for her hand. Lena pulled the fob back, fingers closing around the cool plastic. "You're not taking my access," she said. "You can call the resident line or the manager or my partner upstairs, but I'm not stepping back out into the rain so you can make me look like I'm breaking into my own home." His eyes flashed. "Then I'll call the police," he snapped. There it was, the shortcut. He'd gone from skepticism to threat in under 60 seconds. "Call them," Lena said. Her heart rate ticked up, but her voice stayed flat. She could feel the familiar pinch in her chest, the mix of anger and fear that came any time someone with a little bit of authority put their thumb on the scale. Talbot's hand hovered, then he yanked it back, scowling. He moved behind the desk, grabbed the phone, and stabbed at the buttons. The teenage girl's phone was definitely recording now. Mocha sat by Lena's leg, tail flicking, eyes on her face like she could sense the shift. "Seattle Police?" Talbot said into the receiver. "Yeah, I've got a trespasser in the lobby at Evergreen Tower, black female, mid-30s, claims she lives here, won't comply, refusing to surrender access device, dog with her, getting agitated. I need officers on scene." He cut a glance at Lena on black female, another at the growing semicircle of watchers. Lena forced herself not to react. Every muscle in her shoulders itched. She looked up at the dome camera tucked in the corner of the lobby ceiling. A red light pulsed steadily at its base. "You're recording this," she thought. "Good." Talbot hung up. "You'll wait right there," he said. "Do not approach the elevators." He reached over the desk again, quicker this time, and managed to snag the fob dangling from her hand. It slipped from her fingers with a soft plastic click as it hit his palm. She almost grabbed for it on reflex, almost, but she saw it too clearly. The headlines, the internal disciplinary report she'd someday have to read about herself. "Subject escalated confrontation, reached toward officer's torso." She'd spent too many hours and too many hearings parsing phrases like that out of incident files. So she let it go. Talbot turned away, dropped the fob on the desk beside his keyboard as if he were impounding evidence. He pulled a laminated sheet from a drawer and laid it out, tracing one paragraph with his finger. "Building policy says," he began. Lena tuned him out and focused instead on her breathing, on the sound of the rain against the glass and the slow tick of the wall clock above the fireplace. The couple in wool coats had stopped pretending not to look. The woman nudged her phone out, hesitated, then seemed to think better of it and slipped it back into her purse. A younger guy in a Sonics hoodie just stared, eyebrows up, lips pressed thin, like he'd seen this scene before and knew exactly how it usually ended. Minutes stretched thin. The elevators chimed. People came and went, each exit and entrance adding another layer of awareness. The lobby wasn't full, but it was full enough. By the time the patrol car rolled up to the curb, blue lights sliding across the lobby ceiling, Lena's coffee had gone cold in her hand. 2 officers stepped in out of the rain, a tall white man in his 40s with a square jaw and rain beaded on his shaved head, and a smaller, younger woman with an Asian surname on her badge. Their uniforms were crisp, their radios chattering quietly on their shoulders. "Officers," Talbot called, already moving around the desk. "Right here. That's her." He pointed straight at Lena. The older officer's eyes landed on her, took in the hoodie, the dog, the coffee. He didn't look at the fob in Talbot's hand or at the security camera in the corner. "Ma'am," he said, striding forward, "I'm Officer Heller. Step away from the elevators, please." Lena was 3 feet from the elevator line, standing perfectly still. "I haven't moved," she said. "Step away," he repeated, as if she hadn't spoken. She took half a step back anyway, more for Mocha's sake than his. Talbot launched into his story. "She came in behind a resident and refused to identify herself, wouldn't give me the fob. Got confrontational when I asked who she was. I don't have her name on any lease." "That's not what happened," Lena said. The younger officer, Nguyen, her tag read, lingered a step behind Heller, eyes flicking between the 3 of them and the watching neighbors. Her jaw worked, as if she were grinding something between her teeth she couldn't quite swallow. "Ma'am, do you live in this building?" Heller asked. "Yes," Lena said. "Name and unit." "Lena Carter, 28B. The account is under Reyes Carter." Heller looked over at Talbot. "You have that?" Talbot shook his head. "No Carter listed, no pets for that unit either." "That's incorrect," Lena said. "We filed the pet registration paperwork last month." Heller turned back to her, eyes narrowing slightly. "Do you have ID?" he asked. "In my pocket," she said. "Go ahead and slowly reach for it," he said. "No sudden movements." He said it loud enough for the phones to catch. The words were almost a script. Lena gave him a look, but she did as she was told, moving slowly, deliberately, like she was underwater. She produced her wallet, flipped it open, and held it out. He took the ID, glanced at it, then at her. "This doesn't list an Evergreen Tower address," he said. "It says Rainier Valley." "It's my previous address," she replied. "I haven't updated it yet." The lease, the mortgage, and the HOA records would all show this building. Talbot snorted. Heller didn't. "So, right now," he said, "what I have is a previous address and a security officer telling me you're not on the lease." "What you have," Lena replied, "is a working key fob that opened the door, my name on the resident account, and a security officer who made an assumption based on what I look like when I walk my dog." The words came out calmer than she felt. Her heart was beating in her throat. Someone in the lounge coughed. The teenage girl's phone had inched even higher, capturing all of it. "Ma'am," Heller said, voice stiffening, "this is a simple trespass investigation. Cooperate and it'll go smoother." "That word," Lena said softly. "Trespass." Images flooded her mind. The case files spread across her dining table. The incident reports she'd read over and over. Each one someone else's lobby, someone else's humiliation. She looked up at the camera again. "Officer," she said, "before you put anything in a report, I'm telling you clearly. I am a legal resident of this building. I have a key fob issued by management. If you proceed as if I'm trespassing, you are making a false report." Heller's jaw flexed. "Step over here," he said, gesturing away from the elevators toward the front doors. "We're going to document the interaction, then you can be on your way. Right now, I'm giving you a verbal warning to stay out of common areas until management clears this up." Lena blinked. "You're banning me from the lobby of the building I live in," she said, "on the basis of a security guard's assumption. On the basis of a lack of verified residency on file," Heller corrected, "and documented non-compliance." Non-compliance, the word landed like a stamp on a form. Nguyen shifted her weight, then cleared her throat very quietly. "Sergeant," she said almost under her breath, "we could call the after-hours line, ask them to look up." Heller gave her a small shake of his head that said, "Not now." Phones watched. The lobby lights hummed. Lena felt that old, familiar urge to pull her rank like a weapon, to say the words that would snap all their spines straight. "I am the person who questions you in front of the cameras when things like this go wrong." But she tasted what would come after it. The headlines. "Oversight chair threatens officers during personal dispute." The way they'd twisted into bias the other direction. She swallowed it down. "Am I being detained?" she asked. "No," Heller said. "You're being warned." "Then I'm going upstairs," she said. Talbot sputtered. "You can't just—" "Rick!" Heller cut in, his tone finally sharpening at the guard. "If she has an access fob, she has a right to go to the unit until management says otherwise. We're not arresting people in their own lobbies over paperwork." It wasn't an apology. It was damage control. Heller scribbled something on a card and handed it to her. "This is the incident number," he said. "If management confirms you're not on the lease, they can issue a formal trespass notice. If they confirm you are, then this is nothing." He said it like that would make it vanish, as if every eye in the lobby, every phone, every flicker of humiliation could just be filed away and forgotten. Lena took the card without looking at it. Talbot dropped the fob back on the desk like it disgusted him. Lena picked it up, the plastic warm from his hand. She moved toward the elevators. The crowd parted slightly. Mocha's nails clicked on the tile. As the doors closed around her, shutting out the lobby, Lena saw her reflection in the mirrored walls. Damp curls escaping the beanie, hoodie clinging to her shoulders, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Act like it's a stranger's file, she told herself, like every other case, but it wasn't. This one had her name written all over it. The shower steamed the bathroom mirror until her own face blurred. Lena stood with her hands braced on the counter, a towel wrapped around her as water continued to drip from her hair. She could still feel the lobby tile under her soles, still hear the word trespass echoing in Heller's mouth. Mocha snored softly on the bath mat, utterly unbothered. Her phone buzzed on the counter, screen lighting up with a familiar name. Jade, 9:14 p.m. Lena hesitated, then answered. "Tell me you're home," Jade said without preamble. "You sounded like you were going to flip a table in that text." "I'm home," Lena said. "No tables were harmed." "What happened?" Lena told her, voice flattening the edges out of the story so she could get through it. The guard, the fob, the call, the officers, the warning, the word. On the other end of the line, Jade went very quiet. "Say something," Lena said. "Oh, I'm saying a lot," Jade replied. "Just not out loud because you're a public official and my phone is probably bugged." Lena huffed, the faintest of laughs escaping. "You know what I mean," she said. "You want the friend answer or the lawyer answer?" Jade asked. "Yes," Lena said. "As your friend," Jade said, "I want to drive over there right now. Drag that guard into the rain by his cheap polyester tie and staple your deed to his forehead." "Graphic," Lena said. "As your lawyer," Jade continued, "I want to file a complaint with the Office of Police Accountability before I finish this sentence, then fax a demand letter to your building's management so fast their printer catches fire." "I knew you would say that," Lena murmured. "Because I'm right," Jade said. "Lena, you chair the commission that oversees complaints like this. They literally humiliated the one person in the city whose job it is to stop them from doing exactly this." "That's why I don't file it tonight," Lena said. Silence crackled between them for a moment. "Excuse me?" Jade said slowly. "Run that back." "I go through the public process," Lena said. "I don't shortcut it just because it's me. If I jump the line, every officer who doesn't want to change will scream about bias and personal vendettas. You know they will." Jade exhaled hard. "So, what do you do?" she asked. Lena looked at the bulletin board above her desk across the room, the one pinned with news clippings and charts, stop rates by race and precinct, complaint resolution timelines, flow charts of oversight processes she'd scribbled in meetings. Tomorrow's date was circled 3 times. "There's already a hearing scheduled for tomorrow night," Lena said. "Pattern of complaints about stops in private buildings. That lobby has cameras. My neighbors have phones. Let's follow the process and let's put it all on the record." "You're going to sit on the dais," Jade said slowly, "and preside over a hearing about the officers who tried to push you out of your own lobby." "I'm going to preside over a hearing about the pattern that made that seem normal to them," Lena replied. "This isn't just about 2 cops and a rent-a-guard. It's about every person who can't walk through their own front door without being treated like a suspect." She heard Jade sigh, softer this time. "I hate that you have to be this calm," Jade said. "I hate that you can't just be mad." Lena stared at her reflection in the mirror, the steam finally thinning enough to show her face clearly. Her eyes were tired, yes, but something cold and bright burned behind them. "Trust me," she said, "I'm mad. I'm just going to aim it." Morning slid in gray and damp, as it always did. By 8 o'clock, Lena was at her dining table in sweatpants and a t-shirt, laptop open, papers scattered. Mocha lay under the table like a furry footrest, occasionally twitching in a dream. On the screen, spreadsheets glowed, stop data broken down by race, neighborhood, and context. She'd seen it all before in staff briefings, but this morning every number felt personal. Downtown patrol, black residents stopped in residential lobbies at 3 times the rate of white residents, even though the building rosters skewed heavily white and Asian. Suspicious person calls in high-end buildings up 18% in 2 years. Formal complaints, numerous. Sustained findings, few. Her phone buzzed again. "Unknown. City Hall," she picked up. "Commissioner Carter," a voice said. "This is Patel from the mayor's office. I'm sure you've seen. There's chatter online about an incident at Evergreen Tower last night." Of course there was. One neighbor's Instagram story had already hit 10,000 views before she went to bed. "I'm aware," Lena said. "Of course you are," Patel said. "Listen, the mayor is very interested in tonight's hearing, so are half the local reporters. We're moving it to the big chamber and opening up more live stream capacity." "Understood," Lena said. "And," Patel added, "if you need to recuse yourself, we can have the vice chair take over." Lena let that sit for a moment. "Did someone suggest I should?" she asked. "Not officially," Patel said. "It's just optics. You know how fragile some folks are about oversight looking personal." "I plan to disclose the incident," Lena said. "On the record. Then I plan to ask questions based on data and policy, as I always do. If certain people can't handle that, that's their problem." Patel was quiet for a beat. "I'll let the mayor know," he said finally. "Good luck tonight, Commissioner." She hung up, stared at the spreadsheet for another moment, then closed the laptop. Luck had nothing to do with it. On the other side of the city, fluorescent lights hummed in a conference room above a precinct. Officer Mark Heller sat at a long table with a paper cup of coffee and a stack of incident reports in front of him. The coffee had gone lukewarm while Internal Affairs Detective Miguel Ramos talked. The commission requested all footage related to residential trespass calls for the last 18 months, Ramos was saying. That includes last night at Evergreen Tower. Heller shifted in his seat. "It was nothing," he said. "We didn't arrest her. We didn't even trespass her formally. We just documented the contact." Ramos looked at him steadily. "Did you run her name?" he asked. Heller shrugged. "Security said she wasn't on the lease. She didn't have ID with the address. That was enough to give a verbal warning and move on." "What name did she give you?" Ramos pressed. Heller hesitated. "Carter," he said. "Lena Carter." Ramos's mouth twitched in something that wasn't quite a smile. "And you didn't think to wonder," he said, "why Internal Affairs and the Commission had already pulled your body cam footage before your shift ended?" A knot formed in Heller's stomach. "What are you talking about?" he asked. Ramos slid a printed page across the table. It was a screenshot from the city website. An official headshot of Lena in a blazer, hair pulled back, expression calm but direct. Beneath it, Lena Carter, Chair, Seattle Civilian Police Accountability Commission. The coffee in Heller's stomach turned to concrete. "That's her," he said, his voice thinner than he wanted it to be. "Yeah," Ramos replied. "That's her." "She didn't tell me," Heller muttered. "She didn't have to," Ramos said. "She told you she lived there. That should have been enough to at least pick up a phone and verify." Heller bristled. "You know how many times we get lied to about that exact thing?" he said. "People say they live somewhere all the time when they don't. Security calls us for a reason. We have to back them up." Ramos's look didn't soften. "You have to back up the law," he said, "not someone's bias. The law says you confirm before you treat somebody like they don't belong." Across the room, Officer Nguyen sat very still, hands clasped in her lap, listening. Her eyes flicked down to the table. Ramos noticed. "You had your body cam running, right?" he asked. Nguyen nodded. "Yes, sir." "Good," Ramos said, "because the commission has already requested that too." Heller let out a breath between his teeth. "So what now?" he asked. "They drag us up there and grill us on live TV?" Ramos closed the file folder with a soft thump. "There's a hearing tonight," he said. "You'll be called as a witness. You'll be under oath. My advice? Tell the truth. All of it. Because this isn't just about you anymore. This is about a pattern they've been watching for a long time." Heller's jaw tightened. He'd been on the job long enough to know what pattern sounded like when Internal Affairs said it. Nguyen swallowed. "Sir," she said quietly, Do we get to see the footage before the hearing?" Ramos shook his head. "Nope," he said. "You'll see it when everyone else does." By 7 that evening, the big chamber in City Hall hummed with a different kind of electricity. Rows of seats were filled with residents, activists in T-shirts bearing slogans about justice, off-duty officers in plain clothes, and more reporters than Lena had ever seen at a commission meeting. At the front of the room, a long curved dais faced the crowd. In the center sat a raised chair with a microphone and a small nameplate. Chair. Lena Carter. She could feel dozens of cameras on her as she stepped through the side door and took her seat. The robe she wore in court was hanging in her closet at home. Tonight, she wore a navy blazer over a white blouse, the same outfit from the headshot on the website, hair pulled back neatly. The same woman who'd stood in leggings and a hoodie in that lobby less than 24 hours earlier. To her left and right, other commissioners settled in, adjusting microphones, shuffling papers. A large video screen glowed behind them, frozen on the first frame of a still image. The Evergreen Tower lobby, captured from above. In the front row, she recognized Patel from the mayor's office, arms folded, expression carefully neutral. Beside him sat the police chief, hands clasped, jaw tight. A bailiff-like staffer leaned into her microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "this special session of the Seattle Civilian Police Accountability Commission is now in order." Lena tapped the button on her own mic. The speakers carried the soft click through the chamber, followed by her voice. "Good evening," she said. "My name is Lena Carter, and I serve as chair of this commission. Tonight's agenda concerns patterns of police response to suspicious person calls in residential buildings with a particular focus on incidents involving black residents in majority-white properties." She let that sit, let the words sink in. "Before we begin," she continued, "I need to make a disclosure for the record." A murmur rolled through the room. "Last night, I returned home to Evergreen Tower," she said. "Upon entering the lobby with my dog, I was stopped by the building's private security officer, questioned about my right to be there, and threatened with police involvement when I asserted that I was a resident. That officer called 911. Responding officers arrived, treated me as a potential trespasser, and issued a verbal warning regarding my presence in the building's common areas." She heard, more than saw, the ripple move through the crowd, eyes widened, pen scribbled faster. "I was not arrested," she said. "I was not physically harmed. Many people fare far worse in similar circumstances. But because I serve in this role, and because this incident is directly relevant to the broader patterns we are here to examine, I am disclosing it openly and fully." She looked out over the room, found Nguyen and Heller in the second row, seated at a table with a city attorney. Heller's face was blank but stiff. Nguyen's hands were folded tightly. "I am not recusing myself," Lena said. "My duty is to examine evidence, identify patterns, and recommend reforms in the public interest. I will do that tonight, not as a private complainant, but as a public official charged with oversight." She took a breath. "With that, on the record, we'll proceed." The staffer called the first witness. "Security Officer Rick Talbot," she said. "Please come forward." Talbot walked up the center aisle, his cheap suit hanging a size too big, his jaw set. He raised his right hand, swore to tell the truth, and sat at the witness table. "Officer Talbot," Lena said, "for the record, please state your name and role." He did. "Last night," she said, "you called 911 from Evergreen Tower's lobby. Why?" Talbot licked his lips. A woman entered the lobby with a dog," he said. "Came in behind another resident. She refused to surrender her access fob for verification and got argumentative when I asked who she was. Given recent break-ins, I considered it suspicious." Lena nodded slowly. "Did she present as intoxicated?" she asked. "Violent? In distress?" "No," Talbot admitted. "But she was confrontational." "Did she threaten you?" Lena asked. "Did she attempt to force entry past you? Did she raise her voice?" He shifted in his seat. She wouldn't follow instructions," he said. "That's enough." "Enough for what?" Lena asked. "To warrant a police response," he said. She gestured to the screen behind her. "Let's take a look at what enough looks like," she said. The lights dimmed slightly. The screen flickered to life. From the angle of the lobby camera, everything looked smaller, like a dollhouse version of the place where she'd stood. There she was, blurry but recognizable, walking in with Mocha, tapping the fob, the door unlocking. There was Talbot stepping around the desk. The room watched as the scene played out, his posture, his finger jabbing toward her, her hands visible, one holding a coffee cup, one with the fob dangling. They saw the moment he snatched it from her hand, the way she froze. No audio, but the body language spoke volumes. "Stop there," Lena said. The footage paused on the moment Talbot's fingers closed around the fob. "Officer Talbot," she said, "did you see me attempt to force entry into the building?" Talbot looked at the screen, then away. "No," he said. "Did I present a weapon?" she asked. "No." "Did I refuse to identify myself?" she asked. "You refused to let me verify your fob," he said. "Did I provide my name and unit number?" she pressed. He hesitated. "Eventually," he muttered. "In the video," she said. "That takes place within 30 seconds of the initial contact." She looked out at the audience. "This is one lobby on one night," she said. "Detective Ramos, if you would." Ramos stepped up, a thick binder in hand. He clicked a remote and the slide on the screen switched to a bar graph, blue and red columns against a white background. "For the last 18 months, Ramos said, his voice carrying, "we've tracked calls coded as suspicious person in residential buildings. This graph breaks those contacts down by race of the subject and by whether the subject was a documented resident of the building in question." The bars told a clear story. "Black residents," he continued, "are 3 times more likely to have police called on them in their own buildings than white residents, even though building rosters show they make up a much smaller percentage of occupants. In nearly 80% of these calls, no crime was found to have occurred." A murmur swept through the chamber. Lena kept her gaze on the data, steady. "This isn't about one guard or one officer," she said. "It's about a system that makes it feel normal to question who belongs in a place based on what they look like, not on evidence." She turned back to Talbot. "Do you recognize that pattern in your own calls?" she asked. He clenched his jaw, saying nothing. "Let the record reflect the witness's silence," she said calmly. "You may step down for now." She signaled to the staffer. "Officer Heller," the staffer called. "Officer Nguyen, please come forward." They rose together, swore in, and sat side by side. "Officer Heller," Lena began, "you responded to the 911 call from Evergreen Tower last night. In your report, you describe issuing a verbal trespass warning. On what basis?" He cleared his throat. "On the basis of the information I had at the time," he said. "Security stated the subject wasn't on the lease and refused to surrender her fob." "You did not attempt to contact building management to verify residency," Lena said. "We were told there was no listing," he replied. "It was late. After-hours contact isn't always reliable." "So you accepted the word of one security guard over the word of the person in front of you who stated she lived there," Lena said. "I weighed both," he said stiffly. "You wrote non-compliant in your report," she said. "What does that mean to you, officer?" "She questioned the instructions," he said. "Argued." "She asked you to base your conclusions on facts," Lena said. "That is not non-compliance. That is citizenship." Heller bristled. "With respect, Chair Carter," he said, "we can't just take everyone's word at face value. People lie to us." "Yes," Lena said quietly. "They do. And when they do, you have tools to find the truth. Radios, databases, call logs, cameras. Which of those did you use last night?" He said nothing. "Officer Nguyen," Lena said, turning to the younger woman, "do you recall suggesting that the after-hours number be called?" Nguyen swallowed. "Yes," she said, "I did." "And what happened?" Lena asked. "Sergeant Heller indicated we'd handle it with a warning instead," Nguyen replied. "I deferred to his judgment." "Did you feel comfortable with that?" Lena asked. Nguyen glanced just for a second at Heller. Then she looked back at Lena. "No," she said. The word dropped into the chamber like a stone into water, sending ripples out in every direction. "I felt uneasy," Nguyen added. "It reminded me of other calls we've gone to in similar buildings. It always seems to be the same kind of person getting questioned. I haven't always spoken up." Lena let the honesty hang there, raw and fragile. "Thank you for your candor," she said. "That unease? That's your conscience. It's also a signal, a data point that something is wrong in the training and the culture." She looked past them to where the police chief sat. "Chief," she said, "you've heard the pattern, you've seen the footage, you've listened to your own officer admit discomfort with how these calls are handled. What is your department prepared to do about it?" The chief leaned toward his microphone, cleared his throat. "Our department takes these concerns very seriously," he began, slipping into the familiar bureaucratic cadence. "We're committed to fairness." "Specifics, Chief," Lena cut in, her tone still even but firm. "The public isn't here for platitudes. They're here for policy." For a heartbeat, the chief looked like he might push back. Then he exhaled. "We can revise our response protocol," he said. "Require verification from building management before any trespass warning is issued. Flag any address with repeated 'suspicious person' calls for review." "And," Lena said, "you'll provide this commission with quarterly reports on those calls broken down by race and outcome." "Yes?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Yes," he said. "Good," Lena said, "because this isn't going to be the last time we look at this." She took a breath, feeling the room's energy crest and settle. "We're not here to stage anyone's humiliation," she said. "We're here to make sure what happened in one lobby last night becomes less likely in every lobby tomorrow." She paused. "For the record," she added, "I still live at Evergreen Tower. I will still walk my dog through that lobby. And the next time someone looks at me and wonders if I belong, I want them to remember this hearing." Months later, the rain fell softer. Spring pushed up through the cracks of the city, cherry blossoms along the streets, a faint brightness even on cloudy days. The lobby at Evergreen Tower looked almost the same marble, same glass, same fireplace. But there were new additions. On the wall opposite the elevators, a framed poster displayed a city seal and bold text. Seattle Civil Rights and Policing Transparency Initiative. Data. Accountability. Respect. Beneath it, a smaller sign listed the Commission's hotline and website with a QR code for filing complaints. Behind the desk, a new security officer stood, a young black woman with her hair in braids pulled back into a bun. Her name tag read, Parsons. She looked up as the lobby door chimed. "Evening, Ms. Carter," she said, a real smile on her face. "Hi, Mocha." Lena stepped in out of the drizzle, shaking a few drops from her umbrella. "Evening," she said. "Quiet night?" "So far," Parsons said. "Just a grocery delivery that went to the wrong floor. I redirected them before they could knock on 24C at midnight again." Lena smiled. "Heroic work," she said. Parsons gestured at the new posters on the wall. "Corporate sent an email about those," she said. "We got new training, too. Specific stuff about bias, about not assuming people don't belong because of how they look. They even used the hearing video as an example." "Must have been a fun watch," Lena said dryly. Parsons shrugged. "Some folks squirmed," she admitted. "But it was real. We needed it." Mocha trotted ahead toward the elevator's tail wagging. "Oh," Parsons added, "the building manager asked me to tell you. The HOA board approved the new guest policy. No ID checks in the lobby unless there's an actual incident now. They sent the update to the precinct, too." "Good," Lena said. In her inbox at City Hall, she had a stack of emails and reports that proved the changes were spreading beyond this building. The police department's latest quarterly update showed a noticeable drop in trespass warnings issued to residents of color. Internal Affairs had flagged 2 repeat callers for counseling, people who dialed 911 every time they saw a black neighbor in the stairwell. And tucked into that same report was a memo about Officer Nguyen, now transferred temporarily to community engagement and helping redesign training modules on responding to suspicious person calls. Officer Heller's name showed up in another column entirely, one that listed pending internal discipline for policy violations, with a note about mandatory bias training and a warning that any future substantiated complaint would trigger termination. Consequences. Not revenge, but consequences. Lena stepped into the elevator and pressed 28. As the doors slid closed, she caught her reflection again in the mirrored steel, this time in jeans and a sweater, hair in a loose puff, key fob dangling casually from her fingers. She thought about all the lobbies she'd never stand in, all the people who wouldn't have a commission chair to walk into a hearing the next night and say their name into a microphone. This story had gone viral, yes. It had embarrassed a department, shook a building's management, and birthed a handful of new policies But it was still only one story. When she reached her floor, the elevator chimed. The doors opened onto the quiet hallway. Mocha trotted out, nails clicking on the hallway carpet, then paused and looked back at her, waiting. "Come on," Lena said, smiling. "We've got more work tomorrow." Because tomorrow there would be another file, another graph, another name on another line in another report. And as long as she had a seat at that curved table under the cameras, as long as her voice carried through those microphones, she was going to keep using it. Not to punish, though punishment sometimes had to happen, but to insist, over and over again, in every meeting and every hearing, on the simple, radical idea that belonging should never be decided by the color of your skin, the cut of your clothes, or the price of your home. Only by the facts, only by the truth, only by a system finally learning to see what had been in front of it all along.